We're going to get ready to start. So what we've been talking about, the last thing we spoke about was regarding the Mishkan, regarding the let's get on. We were talking about the Mishkan, the skins of the that were used for the Mishkan. As you know, there were different levels of the canopy, the curtain that covered the Mishkan, so to speak, the ceiling of the Mishkan, the mobile tabernacle, the mobile Beit Hamikdash, mini temporary Beit Hamikdash, so to speak, that we had in the desert, and afterwards until they built the Beit Hamikdash, and they had three layers. They had the bottom layer was curtains made out of linen and wool, and then we had the second layer, curtains made out of Yirot Izim from goat hair, and the top layer we had a from Tachash, skins from a certain animal called the Tachash skins. We had the skins of Orot Elim Adamim. We had skins from beautiful ram skin that was dyed. Plus, we had the skin of the Tachash. And the Gemara is going to discuss what is this Tachash. And so after the Gemara wanted to know. Um, we're going to see there's going to be a discussion. Was the Tachash animal a kosher animal? Was the skins of a Tachash from a kosher animal, or was the skins of the Tachash not a kosher animal? Now the Gemara is going to try to identify what is the Tachash, and we're going to start with the Gemara on 2882. Gufa on the right side. Gufa, Bayi Rabbi Elazar, close to the top, second column, 2882. Gufa Rabbi Elazar. Or behemoth tmeya, the skins of a not kosher animal, mahu sheyitamei tumat oholin. Would the skins of a not kosher animal be subject to the laws of that the tent itself will become tamei? What does that mean? If there's a dead body in a tent, we know the people that are in that tent and the utensils that are in the tent become tamei. But there's another point that the tent itself, if it's a tent, the tent becomes tamei as well. And the tent, you would have to also put the ashes of the paraduma. Good morning, Adam, on the tent. Morning, welcome back. So that is the law, that not only do you take the ashes of the paraduma and sprinkle it on the people that became contaminated, and then the Torah says on the third day is do a sprinkling on the seventh day, and then he goes to the mikveh. So too on the curtains, if there's a curtain that was over the dead body, that was an ohel over the dead body, the curtain that was over the dead body, meaning higher than the dead body, where the dead body was underneath, that also would require going the process of purification. The question is, and the Gemara said, the question is, what about if that ohel, the tent, it was made out of skins? Would those skins also be subject to this purification process or not? Now, we found that by the Mishkan, by the tabernacle in the desert, that was called an ohel. That's called an ohel. And the Torah, when it talks about a person passing away, it says Adam ki yamut ba'ohel. Also uses the word ohel. So we find the word ohel being used both by the story of a person dies in a tent, in an ohel, and the Mishkan is called the Mishkan. It's also called an ohel. Mishkan ha'idut. It's called ohel ha'idut. It's ohel Mishkan. It's referred to also as an ohel. So what's the given? We welcome everyone back. What's the given is that the Mishkan is called an ohel. The given is that when the Torah talks about the purification process, it also talks about an ohel, the person being in the ohel and sprinkling and doing the purification process on the ohel itself. So what is the ohel that the Torah is talking about that requires the purification process when it was over a dead body. So look, we have a precedent. What was the ohel of the Mishkan? So therefore, we'll know what the ohel over here is. And what was the ohel of the Mishkan? We know there was skins, things. We'll get to the skins in a second. There was linen curtains, and the Gemara proved that linen curtains would be called an ohel. Things if it was made out of linen, if it was made out of wool. What about if it was not this type of material? It was made out of skins. Skins also, and the Gemara proved yesterday that the skins were also used as, it was layer number 3, the top layer was skins that was serving as a tent. And there was, exactly. But now the question is, now comes a Rabbi Elazar, and he wants to say, what about if the skins are from a non-kosher animal? Oh, so Richie says they wouldn't use that in the Mishkan. So that's going to be one opinion. One opinion is going to say we're not going to use not kosher, skins. We're going to use skins from a kosher animal in the Mishkan. It's not. We're not going to put. It's not respectful to put a pork, pig skin, or other skins that from a not kosher animal. He says maybe it's not respectful to go ahead and use it in the Mishkan. Okay, so that's going to be one. There's one opinion that's going to say that way, but Rabbi Elazar, he has the question. He has the question because perhaps maybe this skin was so beautiful, and maybe even though it's not kosher, but maybe it was able to be used. Maybe he held that it's possible to suggest that even something which is not kosher, right, came from a not kosher animal. You're not eating it, right? You're using it as decorative purposes. So maybe it could go ahead and be used as a decorative piece in the Mishkan. So that is his question. If someone, let's say, for instance, in your house, I don't think people will think twice if they would have on the wall, something, a skin, whatever animal. People you wear fur, right? So where does fur come from, right? Not kosher animals, a lot of the fur, and no one looks at it in a bad way because it's being used for a certain purpose. So that's the question. So Gufa boy Rabbi Loza or behema tmeya, the or behema tmeya, mahu. What is someone's in the waiting room? We're gonna get Nathan in. Mahu sheyitame. Would it be subject, warning Nathan, to the law of tumat oholim? Would that skin, if it's over a dead body, serving as a roofing over the dead body, would that skin have to also be purified? So, Amar Rav Ada, the Gemara says, what is his question? Meaning to say, the Gemara says, the skins in the Mishkan, we know, let's say it says, Orot Elim Damim. The skins from an ayil. Ayil is a ram, it's a kosher animal. So so what's his question? In the Mishkan, we see it was kosher animals that were used as skins. And therefore in the Mishkan it should be, if it's from a kosher animal, that's what's called a tent. So what's his question regarding, should a non-kosher animal be? Where do we ever find a non-kosher animal serving as a tent in the Mishkan that you should suggest, and therefore say maybe here also it would be subject to the law? So the Gemara says, you know why? Because he had a question about the tachash. It's true. The beautiful skins of the ram skins that you dyed red. I don't know what the sports teams ran. What's their color? I don't know what they call it. I don't know. But here they dyed the color. They dyed the color red of the skins of the ram. But the question was, what about the tachash? That was his question, because the tachash also served. And Rashi learns that the top layer was one layer of skins. Half of the curtain of the skins were from tachash. It was one layer, and half of the skins were from the ram. So the tachash ben Moshe come. That's what he wanted to know. Tamei haya Was it from a non-kosher animal or tahara, or was it only from a kosher animal? And if it was not a kosher animal, so that would be the precedent that you can have something that's not kosher, it's still classified as a ohel, as a covering, and that would be subject to the purification process.
You say that non-kosher
Skin
make a bill too much.
could be makabel tuma as an ohel, right? As an ohel. It meaning if it would seem if it would be in the room itself, that the Gemara would not have a question. In the room itself, if it's not serving as a tent over the dead body, but it's just any type of leather, that if it's a leather utensil, that would receive contamination. But here the question is, it's not serving as a utensil, so to speak. It's serving as this covering. Now, would this thing become susceptible to the contamination? So the Gemara says, Amar Rav Yosef. So Rav Yosef takes Richie's approach. He says, I don't understand what's the question. Because Tanina, we have a brighter that says, Lo huchshiru lemlechet shemayim, ela or behema torah belvad. When you're using skins for holy purposes, for instance, it would sound like, in a broad sense, tefillin, right? You write tefillin on skins, right? You write the parchment. Where does the parchment come from? It's skin. You go ahead and you write Sefer Torah. All of those things, or even I presume by sotah, when they write it and they put it into the water, all those things have to be written on skins of a kosher animal. If you're writing for the purpose of Melecha Shemayim, or if something, or say not only writing, I'm saying here, meaning if it's used for service of Shemayim, for mitzvah purposes, is that it has to be from a kosher leather. And therefore, if it has to be from kosher leather, therefore, it had to be that the tachash animal, the skins that were used in the Mishkan, were also from a kosher background. How do you like that, Adam? Therefore, the skins were kosher from a kosher animal. Now that from a kosher animal, so therefore, it's the only thing, and that's called a tent. They are subject to this purification process. But if it's not from a kosher family, and if it will be over a dead body, will not be required the process. Is that clear? Remind me, what's it say?
This is in the Mishkan.
Right. That's this approach. His approach is in the Mishkan, you're using it for Melecha Shemayim, you're using it for heavenly purposes, meaning if you're using it for your own personal purposes, you want to have in your house, you want to have a curtain made from a non-kosher animal, no problem. Is there any problem? No problemo. You can have it in your house.
So it's like hypothetical to say, would this have contamination? We don't know. It wasn't in the Mishkan.
Very good. Very good. But now that we established, we can infer, Mr. Lawyer, we're gonna right. We can call him the lawyer, right? We can infer if the Mishkan only had kosher, and that's the only thing that we call an ohel, a tent. So therefore, the only precedent that we have is only if you are from kosher family. But if the animal skin is not from a kosher family, we have no precedent that it's subject to and therefore, if we have no precedent, we can't on our own suggest it. Meaning to say, there's something called, Mr. Haber, there is the novelty. The whole concept that something that's serving as a tent itself, that something that's over the dead body is subject to this purification process of the red para duma, of the ashes, that in itself is a novel, is a chidush, something new, something that you're telling me, something that I would not have said. I mean, you can't say something is contaminated unless you have reason, you have source or something like that. You know what I mean? If you don't have a source for it, if the source and the source is only talking about a kosher skin, so the Gemara understands we're not going to broaden it to a not kosher, because correct.
Second question is, if yes, can it be mekabel tuma?
Right. So, right. So he's saying He's saying they're dependent on each other. If you tell me it could be used in the Mishkan, not kosher skin, therefore we established yesterday that it's called an ohel. Meaning the Mishkan, the skins were also part of the ohel, and it's the Torah connects it to the layer two called an ohel, and we say by Hekesh, the layer three, but it's just the parts that put together. They're all part of the ohel family. So if you could establish what is those skins, if it's from a kosher family, then it will not be received contamination because you only find kosher receives contamination. It's called an ohel. But if the skin that was used in the Mishkan was from a non-kosher family, meaning if the tachash, the only skin that's in question is the tachash skin. That's the only one we don't know. Is it kosher or not kosher? What kind of animal was this?
Very old. Someone who might use their home to the Mishkan.
Right. So
They took that kid, word ohel, but that's what someone might use in their home, what's available.
right. So the Gemara of how you can make right. So the Gemara understands there is this gzera shaveh, meaning that there is this tradition that was handed out down from Moshe through all the generations that the Torah uses the word ohel, tent, by contamination, by a person dying and under the tent, and the Torah uses the word ohel, tent, by the Mishkan, by the tabernacle, and then Mr. Hagel, we got it. The Torah uses the word. If you want to sit a little bit more on the bench, I don't want you to fall off the bench. All right. You're like the player getting ready to come into the game, right, Mr. Haver? Okay, but you're already in the game. So that is the. So that we know that they're compared to each other, that we can learn one from the other. So that was the question. What kind of animal? The other rabbi says it had to be a kosher animal. And therefore, it had to be a kosher animal. So then there's no question. Morning, Levi. There's no question. If it's a kosher animal, so the only precedent that a skin that has a status of an ohel is only from a kosher animal. Therefore, only if it's a kosher animal skin over the dead body would it be subject to this.
If that was the top, would not make a building because it's not the law.
Right. Might not. Right, we would not know that it's part of the ohel because the Torah meant, and therefore we needed to identify it as part of the ohel. Because layer 1 is called the ohel, layer 2 was called the ohel. How do you know layer 3? This is called the tent. This is called that. Maybe this is just like cherry on top, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's only a cherry on top, and not the cake. So it's not. Therefore, it's not considered a tent. You already have covering 1, covering 2. So therefore the Gemara says it's also part of the ohel family. Okay. Mativ Rav Abba. So Rav Abba questions Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef went on record. He said that tachash skin, that beautiful tachash skin that they use in the tabernacle, was made out of kosher animal, Yoni. So he says, now we're turning the page, 28a3. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Rabbi Yehuda says the following. Now we're going to get into a little bit about the skins. Shnei michsaot hayu. There were 2 coverings on the Mishkan of skins, of leather. He has them as 2 different levels. Echad shel orot elim adamim. 1 of skins from a ram that was dyed red, and 1 v'acha shel orot chashem, and 1 from the skins of the tachash. So what it sounds like from over here, that he holds that there was 2 layers. There was layer 1, meaning here we have 3 at level 4 and level 3. It sounds like a parking lot. Level 3 and level 4, right? Level 3 was the ram skin, and level 4 was the tachash skin. So that's what he holds. However, the Nehemiah says no. It was only level 3. There was one leather covering made out of skins, And that covering was half of the skins were from the ram, and half of the skins. So you have 50% of that curtain, so to speak, of that top layer attached like that, made of one half made out of leather, and one half made leather from ram skin, and one half made from the tachash skin. Now, and then he says the tachash was domeh kimin tla ilan. It was similar to the tla ilan. Tla ilan is a small, non-kosher wild animal that it's like from the cat family that has many different colors. Has different colors on it. As you know, you see cats with a lot of different colors, and he says this was from that family. So the fact that he says, let's see, did they say, yeah, cat-like, right? Like with a speckled multi coat. So the Gemara's understanding, if you tell me that it was like this family from it was like the cat family, right, with that coloring. So the Gemara thought that you sound like it is part of, it's like that family, it's part of that family. So the Gemara is thinking, now that's a non-kosher. Cat is not it's a not, you're calling it like it's part of that cat family, so and that's not a kosher animal. So the tlailan tamehu. The tlailan is a non-kosher animal, and the Gemara is thinking that when you're identifying the tachash as like the cat, meaning you're saying it's like part of that species, like Richie said, but it's one of the family of, like this week's parasha, we have kosher animals and kosher birds. The Torah, good morning, Gary. The Torah lists 24 names, 24 birds that are not kosher, right? And all of the birds are kosher. But those 24 birds, now, first of all, there are many questions. What are the translation of those 24 birds that the Torah mentions, right? It's not clear to everybody. There are different opinions on what is this referring to, what is that referring to. Right, exactly. But within those 24 birds, each bird, there's so many species within that family of birds, right, Adam? Adam is shaking his head, Rabbi. It's not just 24 birds that we can identify. The families, person has a family, someone's son looks like their father, and these kids all look different, but they're all part of the same family, right? So I don't mean to compare people to animals. We're not. We're a different world. The world outside thinks we're all part of the same family. They're wheeling animals in baby carriages. My wife gets very upset when she sees that. They're not babies. They're not babies. They're not human beings. So what are you wheeling them in baby carriages? And they're giving more rights to the animals than people today, right, Gary? I wonder how you have to treat animals more than people. More respect for animals than people. It's a terrible thing. And we have to have. We don't hurt them. We're not going to cause pain to them. There are many laws in the Torah says, how you have to go ahead and not muzzle the animal when it's working, right? The Torah has certain things that the Torah has about taking care of animals. When you go to eat, you have to give them to eat first and then you to eat. The Torah has certain how it trains us how to deal properly, but not that they have the status of a human being. But so the Gemara is thinking that this is part of the family, of the cat family, the skin, and it has this different multicolored, very beautiful. God made a beautiful world out there. He made beautiful. You go to a zoo, you see the beautiful, unbelievable colors and creativity of Hashem. The animals and they're perfect. They are perfect. The animals are the colors. A peacock, whatever. It's unbelievable, right? It's gorgeous. So Vatla'ilan Tamihu. It's a non-kosher family. So we see that the tachash skin that we're discussing, Gary, that was used as part of the covering for the tabernacle, for the Mishkan, seemingly was from a non-kosher animal. Because if he's calling him from the family of the cat, from the cat family, which a cat family is not a kosher animal. So the Gemara says, no, we didn't mean that. I didn't mean that it's from the cat family. I said it's like a cat. Its features, its look is like a cat, but it's not from that species. It's not from the non-kosher family. It's kosher, right? I'm not. No proof that he's saying that it was not kosher. Correct. Kimin ilanu. It is like it has similarities to this cat family. Sheyesh bo gavanim harbe. The cat and it just like the cat has many this cat has many colors, so too this tachash skin had multicolored skin, but it's not a tla'ilan. It's not from the cat family. The ilu hatam tamei, but over there it's tamei. It's not kosher. The cat family of al-hacha, Rabbi Yosef would tell you that here the tachash is from a kosher family, and therefore it's no question on Rabbi Yosef. And Rabbi Yosef made a statement, Gary, that anything that was used for melechet shamayim for holy purposes had to be kosher, even though they're not eating it, just even serving as a covering in the Mishkan, had to be from a kosher family. And therefore the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yosef brings a support for this answer. Ihachi, that if so, that two different species, so that's why it makes sense that Hainu Debtamagaminon Sasgona. We translate the word Tachash Sasgona. Why is it called Sasgona? The word Sasgona, the Samach and the Sin are interchangeable, which is sus. Sus is to rejoice, to be happy. Shesas begavanim harbe. It's happy with all its colors that it has. It has a lot of colors. We don't translate, meaning the Targum. The Torah has the pasuk, and then there's a translation of the pasuk, the Aramaic translation of the pasuk, right? Targum Onkelos. So here, if you look which Targum this is, maybe it's Onkelos or some other Targum. The Targum, the Aramaic translation for Tachash is Sasgona. It does not translate it Tla'ilan. It doesn't call it the cat, the cat family. It doesn't say cat family. It doesn't say that's the cat family. It only translates it by its features. It's Sasgona. It's called the Sasgona because it has, which means, it's Onkelos. Onkelos does not translate Tachash Tla'ilan. He calls Sasgona because it has all these different colors. So that's the only thing about the Tachash that's connected with the non-kosher family. Yes.
Only kosher. And why was it even attempted to be inserted back and forth?
Right.
It's like using the surface versus just used as part of the wall, right?
Yeah, but why? Yeah, because there's a right there that says there's no unkosher animal.
Oh, very good. It's very good.
So why?
Right. So
The possibility.
The question is, that rabbi just meant it can't be used in the actual services, like the sacrifices, but I think the argument is that maybe it can be
Yeah,
used.
the roof is not part of the consider.
I guess.
yeah, but okay. So it says Melecha Shemayim. So the work of heaven should not be limited to service. It should be, but it should be anything. But it could be that even though he had this writer that says that it has to be from a kosher family, but it's not. But maybe there are other, it's not maybe other teachings that maybe lend itself to perhaps saying that maybe that this tachash, what the tachash was, because it's. But it's a good question that Richie's asking. If everybody accepted that Breita, unless that Breita wasn't well accepted, that everybody accept that it had to be from the kosher family. Obviously, it wasn't so.
The question of the Kabel Tumah goes. So
Right.
we know that animals can make.
Then there's only, it will be limited to the kosher animals. Okay, we'll see more tomorrow, maybe, about Richie's question. Want to wish everybody a great day.